The small spaceship shook violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside, Zara Vexilia gripped her control panel. Warning lights flashed all around her. The ship's computer spoke in her native language. Warning. Engine failure. Crash landing imminent. Zara's skin, normally a calm purple, flashed bright yellow with fear. She was a young scout from the Nexus Confederation, an advanced alien civilization that had watched Earth from afar for centuries. This was supposed to be a simple survey mission. Now it was turning into a disaster. "Computer, send distress signal to home fleet," she said, her voice shaking. Signal sent. No response. Too much interference. The pine trees of northern Montana rushed up to meet her ship. Zara closed her eyes and braced for impact. The crash came with a deafening roar. Metal tore apart. The ship carved a long path through the forest before coming to rest in a small clearing. Smoke filled the cockpit. Zara unbuckled herself and stumbled toward the emergency exit. Pain shot through her leg. She was hurt but alive. The door hissed open and cold earth air rushed in. Zara limped out of her broken ship and collapsed onto the soft ground. The forest around her was dense and unfamiliar. Tall trees reached for the sky. Strange birds called out. Small animals scurried away from the crash site. Zara's skin shifted to a deep blue of pain and worry. "This can't be happening," she whispered to herself. Since childhood, Zara had heard terrible stories about humans. They were said to be violent creatures who ate the flesh of other animals. They fought endless wars and destroyed their own environment. Most frightening of all, they were said to capture and experiment on any aliens they found. Zara's people, the Solarians, were peaceful empaths who could feel the emotions of others. The thought of being near such violent beings as humans filled her with dread. She needed to hide and repair her communication device. If she could contact her people, they would rescue her. Zara gathered a few supplies from her ship and limped deeper into the forest. Night was falling. The temperature dropped quickly. Zara's species wasn't built for cold weather. Her movements became slower as her body tried to conserve heat. She needed shelter soon. A twig snapped nearby. Zara froze. Someone was coming. She ducked behind a fallen tree, her skin automatically changing to match the colors around her, a natural camouflage ability of her species. Heavy footsteps approached. Through the fading light, Zara saw a tall figure moving through the trees. It wore some kind of uniform and carried a long object. A human, and it had a weapon. The human paused, looking around carefully. It was a female with short brown hair beneath a wide hat. She carried a flashlight and what Zara recognized from her studies as a rifle. "Hello?" the human called out. "Is someone there? I saw something come down in this area." Zara remained perfectly still. Her universal translator was working, converting the human's speech to something she could understand, but she had no intention of revealing herself. The human moved closer, sweeping her flashlight across the forest floor. The beam passed over Zara's hiding spot, then came back. Despite her camouflage, the human had spotted something unusual. "I can see you there," the human said, her voice softer now. "Are you hurt?" "I'm not going to harm you." Zara trembled. The human was almost upon her now. There was nowhere to run. In desperation, she sent out a telepathic plea, something humans couldn't usually detect. But to her surprise, the human paused, as if she had sensed something. She lowered her rifle and set it against a tree. "I'm Mason Kelly," the human said, kneeling down to appear less threatening. "I'm a park ranger. My job is to help anyone in trouble in these woods." She pointed to a patch on her uniform. "See, I'm here to help." Zara's skin flickered between blue fear and yellow curiosity. This human didn't seem aggressive. Slowly, she allowed her camouflage to fade, revealing her true form. Mason's eyes widened, but to her credit, she didn't run or reach for her weapon. She simply stared at the alien before her, a humanoid figure with iridescent skin that glowed and changed colors. Where hair should be, delicate tendrils flowed from Zara's head, moving slightly as if underwater. Her large eyes glowed with an inner light. "Well," Mason said finally, "you're definitely not a lost hiker." Zara backed away, her tendrils flattening against her head in a defensive posture. Her translator was working better now, but she was still terrified. All she could think of were the stories she'd been told. "Please don't eat me, human," she projected telepathically, her skin pulsing rapid shades of fearful blue. Mason blinked in surprise, clearly having received the message somehow. Then unexpectedly she smiled. It was a kind smile that reached her eyes. Eat you? Why would I eat you? She shook her head. I don't know what you've heard about humans, but we don't eat visitors from space. Zara wasn't convinced. Your kind hunts and eats animals. You're violent, dangerous, Mason nodded slowly. Some of that is true, but not all humans are the same. She noticed Zara's injured leg. You're hurt. There's a storm coming tonight. Let me help you find shelter. Zara hesitated. Every instinct told her to run. But where would she go? She was injured, cold, and lost on an alien world. And this human didn't seem like the monsters from her childhood stories. My ship, Zara said, her voice melodic and strange to human ears. It crashed. I need to contact my people. We'll worry about that tomorrow, Mason said. Right now you need medical attention and warmth. My cabin isn't far from here. As if to emphasize her point, thunder rumbled in the distance. Rain would start soon. Mason stood and held out her hand. It was a simple gesture, but to Zara, it represented an enormous decision. Trust this human or take her chances alone. Slowly, Zara reached out. Her hand, with its 6 slender fingers, touched Mason's 5-fingered hand. The contact sent a small shock of emotional energy between them. A glimpse of Mason's genuine concern, a flash of Zara's fear and hope. Both pulled back slightly, startled by the connection. What was that? Mason asked. I am sorry. My people, we sense emotions through touch. Zara's skin shifted to a gentler purple. You truly want to help me? Mason nodded. I do. Come on, let's get to shelter before the rain starts. As they walked slowly through the darkening forest, neither noticed the small red light blinking on Zara's crashed ship. Her distress signal had activated, sending its message to the stars, and high above Earth someone was listening. Rain pounded on the roof of Mason's small cabin. The wind howled through the trees outside. Inside it was warm and dry. Zara sat wrapped in a blanket near the fireplace. Her iridescent skin had taken on a soft orange glow that reflected the dancing flames. Mason returned from the kitchen with 2 steaming mugs. She handed one to Zara. It's just hot water with honey, she explained. I wasn't sure what you could drink. Zara sniffed the mug cautiously. Her tendrils curled slightly above her head, showing interest. She took a small sip and her skin brightened with pleasure. This is nice, she said. Her universal translator was working better now, converting her thoughts more smoothly into English. Thank you. Mason sat across from her alien guest. She had cleaned and bandaged Zara's leg injury using her first aid kit. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it seemed to help. So, Mason said, you're from another planet? Zara nodded. My people are called Solarians. We come from a system you would call... She made a musical sound that Mason couldn't possibly repeat. We've been watching Earth for a long time, Zara continued. But we never make direct contact. It's forbidden. Why is that? Mason asked. Zara's skin darkened slightly. Your people are considered dangerous, unpredictable. Mason couldn't argue with that. Fair enough. But not all of us are bad. I'm beginning to see that, Zara admitted. She studied Mason curiously. Why do you live alone in the forest? The question caught Mason off guard. How did you know I live alone? I can sense emotions. There's a sadness in you, a feeling of emptiness in this home. Mason stared into her mug. My wife died 2 years ago. Cancer. After that, I couldn't stand being around people and their pity. So I took this job out here where it's quiet. Zara's tendrils drooped in sympathy. I am sorry for your loss. Outside, a sound cut through the storm, the rhythmic beating of helicopter blades. Mason moved to the window and peered out. That's odd. No rescue flights would be out in this weather. She could see searchlights sweeping through the trees not far from her cabin. They're looking for my ship, Zara said, her skin turning pale blue with fear. Your government has detected the crash. How do you know that? It's what always happens in our simulations of human first contact. Zara stood, wincing at the pain in her leg. I need to leave. If they find me, they will take me, study me, cut me open to see how I work. Mason frowned. That's a bit dramatic, is it? What would your military do if they found an alien with advanced technology? Mason couldn't answer. She knew Zara was probably right. The helicopter sounds grew louder. Flashlight beams appeared through the trees, moving toward the cabin. Mason made a quick decision. We need to move. Now. Get your things. Zara grabbed her small pack of supplies while Mason filled a backpack with essentials. Food, water, medical supplies, and a map. She also took her rifle. Is that necessary? Zara asked, eyeing the weapon. I hope not, Mason replied. But I'd rather have it and not need it. They slipped out the back door just as vehicles pulled up to the front of the cabin. Through the trees, Mason could see men and women in black tactical gear. They moved with military precision. Azino unit, one of them called out. Colonel Hart wants the area secured before dawn. Mason led Zara away from the voices, deeper into the forest. The rain had stopped, but the ground was muddy and slippery. They moved as quietly as possible, using the trees for cover. Where are we going? Zara whispered. I know these woods better than anyone, Mason said. There's an old fire lookout tower about 5 miles from here. We can hide there until we figure out our next move. They walked for hours. The night was cold and Zara struggled with her injured leg. Mason had to help her over rough terrain. By the time the eastern sky began to lighten, they were both exhausted. We need to rest, Mason said. Just for a little while. They found shelter beneath a rocky overhang. Mason spread a thermal blanket on the ground and they sat close together for warmth. Why are you helping me? Zara asked. I'm not your kind. You're risking everything. Mason was quiet for a moment. I've seen what people do to things they don't understand. They fear it, then they try to control it or destroy it. She looked at Zara. You're a living, thinking being. You deserve better than to be treated like a lab specimen. Zara's skin took on a warm pink glow, the color of gratitude in her species. Her tendrils extended slightly toward Mason in a gesture of trust. Suddenly, the air around them vibrated. A low hum filled the forest. Birds took flight in panic. What is that? Mason asked. Zara's eyes widened. A ship. My people have received my distress signal. They emerged from their shelter and looked up. Through the tree canopy, they could see a large object moving across the dawn sky. It was much bigger than Zara's scout vessel. They've come to rescue you, Mason said, feeling both relieved and oddly disappointed. But Zara's skin had turned a dark, worried purple. No, that's not a rescue ship. That's a Solarian warship. Before Mason could respond, the peaceful morning erupted in chaos. From somewhere to the east came the sound of missile launches. Earth's defense systems had detected the alien ship and were responding. The Solarian vessel took evasive action, banking sharply. Something detached from its underside, a smaller craft that plummeted toward the forest. They're sending down a landing party, Zara said. The small craft disappeared behind a distant ridge. Seconds later, a flash of light and a rumble announced its impact. Another crash, Mason said. Zara's tendrils stiffened in alarm. We need to get to that ship now. Why? Isn't that your rescue? No, Zara said grimly. Something is wrong. That ship shouldn't be here. My mission was supposed to be secret even from most of my own people. Mason hesitated. The logical thing would be to turn herself in to the authorities and let them handle this alien situation. But one look at Zara's frightened face made the decision for her. All right, she said. Let's check it out. But we need to be careful. Your friends won't be the only ones looking for that crash site. They set off toward the distant ridge, unaware that their movements were being tracked by satellite. In a command center hundreds of miles away, Colonel Diane Hart watched their heat signatures on a screen. We have 2 targets moving east, she told her team. 1 human, 1 not. Intercept them before they reach the second crash site. In orbit, the Solarian warship held position, its weapon systems powered but not yet targeting Earth. On its bridge, a stern-faced female commander studied the planet below. Find my daughter, she ordered. Find her before the humans do. The forest grew thicker as Mason and Zara made their way toward the crash site. The morning sun filtered through the trees, creating patches of light on the ground. Zara's leg was feeling better, allowing them to move faster. We should be close now, Mason said, checking her compass. They crested a small hill and looked down into a shallow valley. There, amid broken trees and scorched earth, lay the crashed Solarian vessel. It was sleeker than Zara's scout ship, with sharp angles and a dark metallic surface that seemed to absorb the sunlight around it. That's a Hunter-class shuttle, Zara said, her voice tight with worry. They're used for military operations, not rescues. Is it safe to approach? Mason asked. Zara's tendrils waved in uncertainty. I don't know, but we need to find out who was on board and why they came. They made their way carefully down the slope. The ship appeared intact despite its rough landing. As they got closer, a door on its side slid open with a soft hiss. Mason raised her rifle, but Zara put a gentle hand on the barrel, pushing it down. "Wait," she said. A figure emerged from the ship. It was another Solarian, taller than Zara, with skin that shimmered in deep green tones. The newcomer's tendrils were shorter and more controlled, suggesting greater age or rank. The Solarian saw them and froze. Then its hand moved to a device at its waist. "No," Zara called out in her native language. "We're not a threat." The other Solarian hesitated, then responded in the same musical language. Mason couldn't understand the words, but the tone sounded suspicious. "This is Mason Kelly," Zara explained, switching to English for Mason's benefit. "She's been helping me. She's a friend." The word friend made the other Solarian's skin flash with disbelief. It spoke again, this time with its words translated into English by a device on its wrist. "I am Commander Lux. I was sent to recover you and assess the human threat level." The commander's eyes fixed on Mason. "You should not be here, human. This is not your concern." "I made it my concern when I found Zara injured in my forest," Mason replied evenly. Commander Lux turned to Zara. "Your mission was compromised the moment you crashed. The Protectorate Council is debating our next steps. Some are calling for immediate containment protocols." "Containment?" Zara's skin paled. "But we don't have enough information yet. One crash landing doesn't justify such measures. What exactly does containment mean?" Mason asked, not liking the sound of it. Neither Solarian answered immediately. Finally, Zara spoke. "It means isolating Earth, preventing humans from developing space travel technology that could bring them into contact with other worlds." She paused. "In extreme cases, it can mean more. Permanent solutions." Mason's eyes widened. "You're talking about wiping us out? Your people would do that?" "Not my people," Zara said quickly. "Just one faction, the Protectorate. They believe all potentially dangerous species must be contained before they can threaten galactic peace. And humans qualify as potentially dangerous?" Commander Lux made a sound like a harsh laugh. "Your history speaks for itself: human war, genocide, environmental destruction. You kill each other over land, resources, even ideas. We're not perfect," Mason admitted. "But we're not all bad either. We create art, music. We help each other. We learn from our mistakes." "Pretty words," Lux said dismissively. "But the facts remain. My ship detected your military's response to our arrival. They fired upon us without provocation. Because you entered our airspace without warning," Mason protested. Their argument was interrupted by a beeping sound from inside the shuttle. Lux turned and went back inside, with Zara and Mason following. The interior of the ship was cramped but advanced. Screens displayed information in the flowing script of the Solarian language. Lux studied one of them with concern. "We have multiple human aircraft approaching this area," the commander announced. "And a ground force is not far behind." "That would be Xeno," Mason said. "The unit that was searching my cabin." Lux made a quick decision. "We need to move this ship. Its stealth systems are damaged, but I can relocate it to a more secure location." "What about us?" Zara asked. "There's something you need to see first," Lux said, tapping commands into a console. A hidden compartment in the wall slid open, revealing a small device that resembled a silver pyramid. "This contains classified intelligence about our operations on Earth. Take it to the old outpost. Someone there can help you understand what's really happening." "Outpost? What outpost?" Mason asked. Lux ignored her, focusing on Zara. "Your mother sent me. She believes the Protectorate is manipulating information about humans to justify aggressive action. This might be our only chance to prevent an interspecies war." Zara took the device, her tendrils curling in determination. "I understand. Your mother?" Mason looked at Zara in surprise. "Who exactly are you?" Before Zara could answer, alarms blared through the ship. "Human aircraft directly overhead," Lux announced. "You both need to leave, now." Lux handed Zara a small disc-shaped object. "This will guide you to the outpost. Trust no one else, not even other Solarians. The Protectorate has agents everywhere." Mason and Zara hurried out of the shuttle. As soon as they were clear, its engines hummed to life. The ship rose unsteadily, then shot off in a burst of speed, disappearing over the treetops. "Your mother sent that, Commander?" Mason asked as they ran for cover. "Who is she?" "My mother is Admiral Nixila, leader of the moderate faction in our confederation," Zara explained between breaths. "She opposes the Protectorate's aggressive policies. And you never thought to mention this? I didn't know who to trust, Zara admitted. My mission was supposed to be secret. I was sent to gather unfiltered data about humans to counter the Protectorate's claims. They found shelter in a dense thicket just as helicopters appeared overhead. Soldiers began to rappel down into the clearing where the shuttle had been. Well, your cover's definitely blown now, Mason muttered. What's this outpost Lux mentioned? Zara activated the disk. A holographic map appeared above it, showing a location deep in the mountains. According to this, there's a hidden Solarian research base about 20 miles from here, she said. I had no idea it existed. 20 miles through mountain wilderness with xenoforces searching for us, Mason sighed. This day just keeps getting better. They watched as the soldiers secured the crash site. A woman with Colonel's insignia surveyed the scene with evident frustration. That's probably Colonel Hart, Mason whispered, the one they mentioned at my cabin. The Colonel gave orders and her team spread out, beginning a search pattern that would soon reach their hiding place. We need to move, Mason said. We've got a long journey ahead. They slipped away, following a small stream to mask their trail. As they traveled, Zara explained more about her world and the political situation that had brought her to Earth. The Nexus Confederation has existed for thousands of your years, she said. We've achieved near-perfect harmony through technology and our natural empathic abilities. But some believe we've stagnated, that we need the chaos and creativity that comes from struggle. Like the kind humans experience? Exactly. My mother's faction believes an alliance with humans could revitalize our civilization. The Protectorate sees only the danger you represent. They walked for hours, stopping only briefly to rest and eat. The terrain grew steeper as they entered the mountains. By late afternoon, they had put considerable distance between themselves and their pursuers. As the sun began to set, they found a cave to shelter in for the night. Mason built a small fire, careful to keep the smoke minimal. So, she said, as they ate a simple meal of energy bars from her pack, your people have been watching Earth for centuries, and now they're deciding whether to help us or wipe us out. Is that about right? Zara's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. That's not entirely wrong, but it's more complicated. The Protectorate doesn't speak for all Solarians, but they have enough power to be a threat. Yes, Zara admitted. They do. Mason stared into the fire. You know, when I found you in the woods, I was just trying to help someone in trouble. I never expected to get caught up in an interstellar political crisis. I'm sorry, Zara said, her skin dimming with regret. Don't be, Mason replied with a small smile. This is actually the most alive I've felt in years. Outside the cave, night creatures began their chorus. The two unlikely companions fell silent, each lost in thought about what the next day might bring. Miles away, Colonel Hart stood in a secure tent, speaking via satellite link to her superiors in Washington. The second alien vessel escaped, but we believe the first alien is still in the area, she reported, and it appears to have a human helping it. Capture them both, came the reply. Use whatever means necessary. We cannot allow alien technology to fall into civilian hands. Understood, Hart said. We'll find them. Above the planet, the Solarian warship Luminous Harmony maintained its position. On its bridge, Admiral Nixila received a coded message from Commander Lux, confirming that Zara was alive and headed for the outpost. Set a blockade course, she ordered her crew. No ships enter or leave Earth's atmosphere without my permission. The Protectorate Council will see this as an act of rebellion, her second-in-command warned. 6 months had passed since the events at the mountain outpost. The world had changed forever. Mason stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Center in New Zealand. The facility had been built as neutral ground for human-Solarian relations, its location chosen for its natural beauty and political neutrality. Through the large windows, she could see the first group of human delegates preparing to board a Solarian shuttle. 20 carefully selected individuals, scientists, diplomats, artists, and philosophers, would be the first humans to visit the Solarian homeworld. Nervous? Asked a familiar voice behind her. Mason turned to see Zara approaching. The Solarian's appearance had changed slightly over the months. She wore modified human clothing adapted for her physiology, and her tendrils were styled in what had become a popular fashion among Solarians working on Earth, loosely braided and adorned with small silver beads. A little, Mason admitted. I've never been off-planet before. You'll love it, Zara assured her, her skin glowing with warm orange excitement. Our cities are built in harmony with nature. The light from our 3 moons at night is, well, you'll see. As Zara's official human liaison and security chief, Mason would be accompanying the delegation. Their friendship had grown stronger through the challenges of the past months, becoming a symbol of what was possible between their species. The aftermath of the outpost incident had been chaotic. Earth governments had initially reacted with fear and military preparations. But Admiral Nixilla's decision to share the unfiltered data about human civilization with both her people and Earth, leaders had changed everything. The data showed that while humans could be violent and destructive, they were also capable of incredible kindness, creativity, and growth. Most importantly, it revealed that the Protectorate had been manipulating information for decades to push their containment agenda. The revelation had sparked political upheaval within the Nexus Confederation. The Protectorate's power had diminished, though they remained a vocal opposition faction. On Earth, the knowledge that aliens had been observing humanity for centuries had led to both fear and fascination. Religious, cultural, and political systems were still adapting to this new reality. Ambassador Chen is looking for you, Mason told Zara. Final briefing before departure. Zara nodded. As the official Solarian ambassador to Earth, she had more responsibilities now than she ever imagined possible for a young scout. I'll be there shortly, she said. I wanted to show you something first. She handed Mason a small device similar to a tablet. On its screen was an image of a strange angular ship unlike either human or Solarian design. What am I looking at? Mason asked. One of our deep space monitoring stations captured this 3 days ago, Zara explained. It's a ship belonging to a species called the Harbingers. Never heard of them. Few have. They're reclusive, secretive, but our intelligence suggests they've been manipulating events in this sector of the galaxy for centuries. Mason studied the image more carefully. You think they've been playing both our species against each other? We have evidence they infiltrated the Protectorate years ago, Zara confirmed. The data from Alara's outpost included communications between Protectorate leaders and unknown entities that match Harbinger encryption patterns. A classic divide-and-conquer strategy, Mason mused. Keep potential allies suspicious of each other so they never unite against a common threat. Exactly. Zara's skin darkened to a serious blue. My mother believes the Harbingers see both our species as potential threats to their influence in the galaxy. This new information cast the events of the past months in a different light. The near war between humans and Solarians might have been orchestrated by this mysterious third party. Have you told the Earth governments? Mason asked. Ambassador Chen is briefing the Security Council today, Zara said. We need to prepare both our peoples for the possibility that the Harbingers might take more direct action. Now that their manipulation has failed, their conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the facility's speakers. Departure in 30 minutes. All delegates please report to boarding area. We should go, Mason said. As they walked through the facility, humans and Solarians nodded respectfully to Zara. Her role in preventing war had made her a hero to both species. They passed a memorial wall dedicated to those who had helped establish peaceful contact. Alara's name was prominently displayed. The old observer had died during a Protectorate attack on the mountain outpost, but not before securing the transmission of crucial data. Colonel Hart was also recognized, though in a different way. Her decision to stand down and open communications had cost her her military career, but she now served as security coordinator for the Joint Human-Solarian Defense Initiative. In the boarding area, the delegates were saying final goodbyes to friends and family. Ambassador Chen, a dignified woman in her 60s, was giving last-minute instructions to her staff. Ah, Ambassador Vexilia, Chen greeted Zara. And Chief Kelly, ready for the journey? Yes, Ambassador, they replied in unison. Good. This exchange program is just the beginning, Chen said. There's so much our species can learn from each other. The boarding process began. Mason found herself standing at the shuttle entrance, looking back at Earth through the large windows. For all its problems, this was her home. She felt a momentary hesitation. Zara sensed her uncertainty. Having second thoughts? Just remembering how this all started, Mason replied. You hiding in the forest, terrified I was going to eat you. Zara's skin flushed with embarrassment, turning a light pink. Not my finest moment. And now look at us, about to visit your homeworld as diplomatic representatives. Life takes unexpected turns, Zara agreed. They boarded the shuttle together. As they strapped into their seats, Mason noticed Zara staring at her intently. "What is it?" she asked. "I've been meaning to ask you something," Zara said, her tendrils curling with slight nervousness. "When this exchange program ends, would you consider staying on as my permanent liaison? The position would involve extensive travel between our worlds." "Are you offering me a job, Ambassador?" Mason asked with a smile. "I'm offering you a purpose," Zara replied seriously. "Few humans understand Solarians as well as you do, and few Solarians understand humans as well as I do. Together, we could help bridge the gap between our peoples." Mason thought about her old life as a park ranger, living alone in her cabin, hiding from the world after losing her wife. So much had changed. "I would be honored," she said finally. Zara's skin brightened with joy, glowing with a color Mason had come to recognize as happiness. The shuttle engines hummed to life. Through the viewport, Mason could see Earth falling away beneath them. The blue planet that had been her entire world was now becoming just one point of light among many. As they accelerated toward orbit, a communication came through from the luminous harmony, which would escort them to the Solarian homeworld. "Ambassador Vexilia," came Admiral Nixila's voice. "We've detected unusual energy signatures near Jupiter, possibly Harbinger scouts. We're sending a team to investigate." "Keep me informed, Admiral," Zara replied. Mason looked at her companion. "Trouble?" "Perhaps," Zara admitted. "But whatever comes next, our peoples will face it together." The shuttle docked with the larger Solarian vessel. As they transferred aboard, Mason caught a glimpse of Earth through a viewport, a beautiful blue marble against the blackness of space. Later, as the luminous harmony prepared for its jump to faster-than-light travel, Mason joined Zara on the ship's observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before them. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Zara said softly. "Incredible," Mason agreed. "You know," Zara said with a hint of humor in her voice, "in all the chaos of first contact and preventing interspecies war, I never properly thanked you for not eating me that first night in the forest." Mason laughed. "Well, human manners and all that. It was my first lesson about your species," Zara said more seriously. "That the stories we tell about others are often wrong. That fear can blind us to the truth." The ship's captain announced they were ready for the jump to FTL. In moments, they would be traveling faster than light, heading toward a world humans had never seen. "Ready?" Zara asked. Mason took a deep breath and nodded. "Ready." As the stars blurred around them and the ship accelerated to impossible speeds, Mason reflected on how far they had come from that rainy night in Montana. From "please don't eat me, human" to standing together at the beginning of a new era for both their species. And somewhere out in the darkness between the stars, the Harbingers watched and waited, their plans temporarily thwarted but not abandoned. The true test of human-Solarian cooperation was yet to come. But that was a story for another day. For now, two friends from different worlds traveled together into an uncertain but hopeful future, their unlikely bond a testament to what could be achieved when fear gave way to understanding. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Mason woke first, alert to any sounds that might signal danger. The cave had kept them safe through the night, but they couldn't stay much longer. She checked on Zara, who slept curled in a tight ball. The alien's skin had taken on a soft, peaceful lavender hue. Mason hesitated to wake her, but they needed to keep moving. "Zara," she said softly, touching her shoulder. Zara's eyes opened immediately, glowing brightly in the dim cave. Her tendrils stretched and curled as she became fully alert. "Any sign of pursuit?" she asked. "Not yet, but they're probably still looking for us." Mason checked the holographic map on Zara's disk. "We've got about 15 more miles to go. Rough terrain ahead." They ate quickly and set out. The path took them higher into the mountains, through areas rarely visited by humans. The air grew thinner, making breathing more difficult. For Zara, whose body was adapted to a different atmosphere, it was especially challenging. "Are you okay?" Mason asked when she noticed Zara struggling. "I'll manage," Zara replied, though her skin had paled considerably. "My people can adjust to various environments. It just takes time. By midday, they had reached a high ridge. Below them stretched a vast wilderness of forests and mountains. In the far distance, they could see a small town nestled in a valley. "That's Riverside," Mason said. "Nearest town to my cabin. Seems so far away now." Zara studied the human settlement with interest. "It looks peaceful." "It is. Just ordinary people living ordinary lives," Mason sighed. "None of them have any idea what's happening up here." They continued their journey, following the ridgeline before descending into a deep valley. The terrain was treacherous with loose rocks and steep drops. Several times they had to backtrack to find a safer route. As the afternoon wore on, the holographic map led them to a sheer rock face that seemed impassable. "Are you sure this is right?" Mason asked, looking up at the towering cliff. Zara checked the disk. "According to this, the outpost should be right here." Mason ran her hands over the rock wall. "Maybe there's a hidden entrance." They searched carefully, examining every crack and crevice. Finally, Zara's tendrils stiffened in excitement. "Here," she called. "I'm detecting an energy signature." She pressed her hand against what looked like solid rock. To Mason's amazement, the stone rippled like water, then parted to reveal a narrow passage. "Holographic camouflage," Zara explained. Very advanced, they entered cautiously. The passage was dark, lit only by faint blue lines that ran along the floor. It sloped downward, taking them deep into the mountain. After walking for several minutes, they emerged into a large chamber filled with alien technology. Workstations with floating screens lined the walls. Strange devices hummed quietly. Most impressive was a massive view screen showing real-time images of Earth from orbit. "Hello?" Mason called out. "Anyone here?" "Well, well," came a voice from the shadows. "I wasn't expecting visitors." A figure stepped into the light. It was another Solarian, older than Zara, with skin that had faded to a pale silver. Her tendrils were long and wispy, floating gently around her head. "I am Alara," she said, her voice musical but tired. "Last keeper of the Earth observation post." She studied Zara with interest. "You're Nixila's daughter. I can see the resemblance. You know my mother?" Zara asked in surprise. "We trained together long ago." Alara turned to Mason. "And you brought a human with you. How? Unprecedented." "This is Mason Kelly," Zara said. "She's been helping me since my crash." Alara circled Mason, examining her curiously. "Fascinating. In 30 Earth years, I've never invited a human into this facility." 30 years? Mason couldn't hide her shock. "You've been here that long?" "Observing, documenting, living among humans when necessary." Alara gestured around the chamber. "This outpost was established centuries ago to monitor your species' development. Commander Lux sent us," Zara said, producing the silver pyramid device. "We were told you could help us understand what's happening." Alara took the pyramid, her expression grave. "So it's finally come to this." She placed the device on a central console. It opened like a flower, projecting a complex display of information. "The Protectorate has been planning Earth's containment for decades," Alara explained as she studied the data. "They've systematically suppressed any positive reports about humans, emphasizing only violence and destruction." "Why?" Mason asked. "What do they gain by making us look bad?" "Control," Alara said simply. "The Protectorate maintains power by stoking fear of outside threats. Humans are perfect for this. Similar enough to be relatable, different enough to be frightening." Zara's skin darkened with anger. "They manipulated my people." "Yes," Alara agreed. "But your mother has suspected this for years. That's why she sent you on this mission, isn't it? To gather unfiltered data." Before Zara could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. Alara rushed to a control panel. "Someone's approaching the entrance," she announced. "Multiple human life signs." Mason's heart sank. "Sino. They must have tracked us somehow." Alara accessed the security system, showing external cameras hidden in the rocks. A team of soldiers in tactical gear was searching the area, led by Colonel Hart. How did they find this place? Zara wondered. The pyramid, Alara realized. It must have contained a tracking device. The Protectorate wanted us to lead them here. Why? Mason asked. This outpost contains centuries of true data about human civilization, Alara explained. It contradicts everything the Protectorate has been saying. If this information became public knowledge, their position would collapse. The soldiers were getting closer to the hidden entrance. Elara made a quick decision. We need to broadcast this data to the Confederation immediately, she said, working rapidly at the console. Zara helped me compile the most relevant files. While the Solarians worked, Mason watched the soldiers on the monitor. They were using some kind of scanning device, sweeping it across the rock face. They'll find the entrance soon, she warned. Almost ready, Elara said. We just need a few more minutes. Outside, Colonel Hart studied her scanner with growing excitement. There's definitely something behind this rock. Some kind of energy field. She turned to her team. Prepare breaching charges. Inside, Elara finished preparing the data transmission. It's ready, but we need a stronger signal to reach the fleet. She pointed to a secondary control room. There's a communications array on the mountain peak. It needs to be activated manually. I'll do it, Mason volunteered. No, Zara protested. It's too dangerous. You two need to stay here and send that transmission, Mason insisted. I know mountains. I can reach the array. Elara gave Mason a small device. This will activate the array. Just place it in the central socket and press the blue symbol. Mason nodded and headed for a side passage that Elara indicated led to the surface. Zara caught her arm before she left. Be careful, she said, her skin pulsing with worry. If they catch you. They won't, Mason promised. She hurried up the passage, emerging from a concealed exit higher on the mountainside. From there, she could see the Xeno team preparing explosives at the main entrance. She had to move fast. The path to the peak was steep and exposed. Mason climbed as quickly as she dared, aware that she might be spotted at any moment. The wind grew stronger as she ascended, threatening to knock her off balance. Finally, she reached the top. The communications array was disguised as a weather-worn rock formation, but up close its artificial nature was obvious. Mason found the access panel and inserted Elara's device. The array hummed to life, panels shifting to reveal a sophisticated antenna. Mason pressed the blue symbol as instructed. The antenna extended upward, pointing to the stars. Down in the outpost, Elara and Zara saw the connection established. Signal is strong, Elara confirmed. Sending transmission now. The data began uploading to the Solarian fleet. At that moment, the first explosion rocked the main entrance. They're breaking through, Zara cried. Elara moved to a weapons locker and removed two devices that resembled small wands. She handed one to Zara. Non-lethal stun weapons, she explained. We may need to defend ourselves. The second explosion was louder. Dust and debris filled the entrance passage. Transmission at 60%, Elara reported. We need more time. On the mountain peak, Mason watched helplessly as Xeno soldiers breached the outpost entrance. She had to do something to buy more time. Making a difficult decision, she began climbing down the opposite side of the mountain, intentionally making noise and leaving obvious tracks. When she was far enough down, she fired a shot from her rifle into the air. The distraction worked. Some of the Xeno team broke off to investigate the sound, following Mason's trail away from the outpost. Inside, Elara watched the transmission progress. 80%, 90%. Colonel Hart led the remaining soldiers into the outpost's main chamber, weapons raised. Don't move, she ordered when she saw the two Solarians. Elara and Zara raised their hands slowly, their skin pulsing with tension. You're making a mistake, Zara said. We're not your enemies. That's for our scientists to determine, Hart replied coldly. She noticed the active console. What are you transmitting? The truth, Elara said simply.